I probably should have done this sooner. It'd have saved me back and forth with lots of different messages to people. Wash bowls. They've actually attracted quite a lot of attention, these wash bowls. And I'm glad people are starting to get the ones that they've ordered online as well. But a lot of people have been asking about the measurements because they've seen similar things in different shops, and some shops are a bit cheaper as well. I'll answer that question today and measure the size. They are 9 inches across top. And surprisingly enough, they're 4 inches deep. I thought they was a bit deeper than that, but they're not. So, 4 inches deep and 9 inches across top. Hopefully that's answered everybody's questions once and for all. Also on bottom of these bowls, it'll have a stamp of some kind. A triangle, possibly with a number in it. And if it's a triangle, and then it says PP, then it's food safe. Or it could be a triangle with a 5 in it. Failing that, it'll be 2 symbols. One being a fork, another being a wine glass. Well, all those mean that these are food safe. But what a miserable day. Saturday morning, and since earlier when I got up, it's done nothing but rain. And we've got rain for the entire day and all day tomorrow, so the weekend's pretty much a washout as far as doing anything outside is concerned. So I think because we've got quite a few wash bowls come empty, I might sow some more seeds into these and get some more bits and bobs growing for container garden, because we want to try and keep as much stuff in there as we can right up until autumn. But I have noticed there's a couple more onions that's bolted and they're in that tin bath and container garden, so that weather is really having an adverse effect on us plants. So the only thing you can do with that is, unless you want to let them run to seed and then collect seeds off them, all you can do with those is just pull them and cut the stems off and put them straight in your fridge and use them as soon as you can. But the problem is when they do that, and they're only very small onions, you're not getting a lot for the time you've put in, but you know what I always say. And talking of onions, if you remember, we did this tray last week and we filled it with loads of seeds of those Florence long red onion because we were quite impressed in the way that they grew and the results that we got when we harvested them. So we've done a load in this tray and we've got germination already, and it's only been a week and there's loads of these little onions starting to appear. What we're going to do basically is wait until they get a couple of inch tall, and then we'll just prick them out and we'll put them into their own individual spaces to grow on into nice sized red onions. I'm also starting to collect quite a lot of cherry tomatoes in fridge. We've got now a couple of full tubs full, and we've still got more ripening on plants, so I'm going to have to think of something to make with those, probably on cooking channel. You can freeze tomatoes quite easily, but it does come a little bit tricky when you get to little cherry tomatoes. There is also another option that I've used before, and that is just putting them through a blender as they are, then forcing them through a fine sieve after, and that way you get rid of all seeds and skin and just end up with pure tomato juice. So if we get many more, that's probably what I'll do with those. But for now, it's what to do on this Saturday morning. Just because it's raining out there and it's miserable doesn't mean we have to sit in house with our noses against window. You can always find something to do, even if it's only for an hour. Just sow a few more seeds. If you look back on what you've been sowing over the last few weeks, you might come across certain things that didn't turn out the way that you wanted them to, or other things that since then have now started to reach end. And as that happens, you need to be sowing fresh seeds just to get another crop before end of season. So I'm going to have a look through my seeds this morning, and if nothing else, we'll get a couple of these wash tubs sorted out and maybe some seeds sown in some smaller packs, just so we've got something on go apart from the things we've already got behind me. I don't want to reach a point just as you approach autumn where everything's finished and we've got nothing left. So we need to stay on top of that. I have also noticed in other greenhouse that there's another cucumber ready. I think we've already got 3 in fridge, but it's got to quite a big size and I don't like him to get too big. So I think we're going to have to pick that one and then maybe pickle it or something, rather than letting it go to waste. So back in this greenhouse where all his peppers are as well.
check that pepper while we're in here, see what's happening with that. That's a really good sized pepper, that is. Really big pepper. Still not ripening at the moment. We're keeping his eye on it, same as others that are a bit smaller. But it's this plant that we came to look at. Really starting to fill out. I've just let the vines run wild on it. And you can see it's trying to go all over the place. But down at the bottom, there's two pretty big cucumbers there. If we go up a little farther, there's another one. But it's not that one we came to look at. It's this one. That is a really big cucumber, and I don't want to leave it on vine any longer than this. Apart from the fact that it's pulling energy out of the plant, I don't like them to get too fat. So that is a perfect size. There we go. Brilliant cucumber that is. It's not exactly salad weather, I know, but you can't turn them down at that. You've got to take them off and let that plant carry on producing, because again, it's got loads more flowers come on it. One thing I did want to check on, apart from even more cherry tomatoes that we need to pick, was these Italian plums. We're still monitoring these plants to see if we get any more of that blossom end rot. But I did notice this earlier on this morning. We've got some that's starting to ripen, and touch wood, they don't seem to have blossom end rot. So we could be on his way to getting some ripe Italian plum tomatoes. And then next to it there's another one, but that one looks like it's starting to develop a problem, so I'm not sure if that's blossom end rot starting. That one's trying to ripen, so we'll just have to keep his eyes on these. If I can harvest a few right ones, it's going to be better than nothing. And meanwhile, we've got this big plant here with more cherry tomatoes on. And we've got to take them off when they're ripe, otherwise it's going to take longer for the ones remaining to ripen. Got a tiny one there as well. As I was saying in other greenhouse, we'll figure something out to do with these. If it's only freezing them, it's better than losing them. And I'm going to have to strip these off this one as well. It's only been a couple of days since we were in here doing this, which is brilliant. These plants have given us so many cherry tomatoes so far. So let's get this one stripped right back today. I can see the plants getting tired now in certain areas, but that's because it's a determinate tomato plant. So basically, as you'll have noticed over the last few weeks, they flower all at the same time, and they fruit and ripen at the same time, or more or less. So you just get an abundance of these cherry tomatoes. But I am definitely stripping everything off it today, and that'll push me to do something with them. I'll leave that one slightly orange. We've got two there, we've got two there, then we've got this plant again, more on it, so we'll take those off, leave those orange ones, and that plant behind, the big one, more on this one. That's a sweet million plant, it's not a cherry full. So basically that plant should grow as big as the ones that we've got in ground in greenhouse, and you've seen how big those plants have got. But we put it in a container that big to see if we could get anything from it, and basically it's restricted that plant's growth to somewhere in the region of 4 foot. But it looks perfectly happy in this container, and it keeps giving us loads of tomatoes, and it's also still flowering. So that's a nice little compact patio tomato plant. So it just goes to prove, even though the plants can get up to 8 feet tall, if you put them in small containers like that, you can restrict that growth, and you could have a really nice little setup of tomato plants in a very small area. Meanwhile, we've just took another nice little harvest, and you know we've been taking these all week. and we'll give them another dose of that CalMag next week and try and keep that nutrient deficiency, if that's what it is, at bay. But we're definitely not going to be doing anything out here today. It's just too wet and horrible. So we'll probably do a bit more in greenhouse this afternoon. Bad weather or not, we're still getting loads and loads of these cherry tomatoes. So this has virtually made another full tub only a couple of days later. And that's about 3 tubs like that I've got in the fridge already. But apart from that, really nice cucumber there. Good size. And that's something else we're going to have to be looking at over the weekend, because we've now got 3 of these in the fridge. This one being the biggest, but also the freshest. So that'll probably keep in the fridge for a couple of weeks. So I'll just go through what we've got left in the fridge. Then we'll figure out what to do. Meanwhile, we'll get some seeds sorted out this afternoon. And we'll get some sown in these containers. And that way at least we've got something a bit later on in season to look forward to. So I'm just going to spend the next 30 minutes or so going back through these seed packets and decide what I need to do. But at least we've got this sorted out now for everybody, the sizes of those wash bowls. And there is stamps on bottom to let you know that it's food safe. And if you Google it, it'll tell you what stamp it should be on bottom. Anyway, I'm going to get these seeds sorted out after I've took these back in house, and we'll see what we're doing later on this afternoon. And although it is a wet and miserable day, it don't mean you can't be out here doing something a little bit productive if you've got a greenhouse. But if you're in house, you can also start making plans for your autumn winter crops. There's always something to do if you put your mind to it. If you want to see what we're going to be doing over this weekend, please hit that subscribe button, press that notifications bell, and I'll see you next time. Take care.